Welcome, everybody. Natalie Cutler Welsh here, and I'm chatting today. This is a live stream that we're doing. We're also going to be feeding it out to my Rumble channel, my Wake Up Your Woo video series. And today I'm talking to Jenny Kennedy, and we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. Some of you might be like, I have never heard of that before. Some of you will be like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I need to hear. And we're talking about the persecution wound and how to heal it. Now, Jenny is an intuitive healer and teacher. She's a cancer survivor and a speaker as well. And I'm so thrilled to have her here today. Here she is. I'll bring her in. Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Nat. It's going to be wonderful sharing all about this persecution wound and what I uncovered for myself and also working with clients today.
Yay. And I know you work online and you're based in the beautiful Tauranga. Is that right?
I'm based in Mount Maunganui, yes, which is wonderful. Love living here.
Yeah, so gorgeous. Okay. Hey, let's just dive straight into it. I know that we will get a little bit of your backstory. You can just weave that in as we go. What I'd love to know is the persecution wound. What does that even mean? And can you give me some examples?
So the persecution wound is whether we have a passion or so we have an absolute desire to help the world, or you're a healer, and you help the world no matter what you're doing in your profession. But most of us come in with this gift. You see those young children that are about 3 or 4 and they have an amazing gift to play the piano. Well, they have learned that from previous lives. We have many lives, and we are remembering in this lifetime our gifts, and that's what I do with people, is help them to tap in to what their gifts are. Now, if we're holding a persecution wound from a past life, then that will hold us back in sharing our gifts, and that can be just in a capacity that's out in the community, not necessarily in a business capacity. So, for example, when I got led to the root cause, I was invited to speak on a platform in America. And I was okay to do that. I was talking about my cancer healing journey. And then I got the list of the other lineup of the other guests. And one of the guests is my absolute hero. He's a leading edge thought leader in the world in his field. And of course, I was tongue tied. Could not speak. I was so nervous. I couldn't sleep. And so then I did a past life regression, and it was so interesting because what I realized was the persecution wound I had, that I was strangled in a past life. And I was taken back to the time of King Arthur and the Round Table. So the story is he had a rectangular table first, and everybody used to argue about who would sit the closest to him because that was the order of importance. So he commissioned a round table to show that we are all equal. So it's when I uncovered this persecution wound, and it's just by that knowing and sending compassion to that past me that experienced that death from speaking up, because I wasn't a very important person in that lifetime, that just the fear and the nerves just dropped away, and up I rocked and spoke up on that platform, not being intimidated by someone who I perceived to be in a much higher place than me in my business.
I think it's so helpful. For some people, this will be new. They'll be new to the woo, as we say, and other people will be understanding this. But what I love about it is if someone's not really into the woo, they might go, oh, like, why am I so embarrassed to speak? Or gosh, I don't really have any confidence. And they'll kind of be beating themselves up a little bit. But when you understand where that comes from, and then it really empowers you to shift and to be able to, like you said, tap into your gifts, as I like to say, your superpowers, and share them with the world. We don't want to be held back. So I've got another question, which is, so you mentioned past life regression, again, terminology that some people won't know what that is. So maybe you can cover that. But how do people know what their wound is?
Well, they'll know. The body is always the barometer to the soul. So their body will show them, like for me in that moment, I just became tongue-tied. And I thought, this fear is so, it's not relevant to it's just so out there. Why am I feeling so overwhelmed and tongue-tied? So it's something more than what we perceive as normal, I suppose. And so that's when we are carrying any persecution wound. And what we could do is just notice what the reaction is in the body when you are invited to step out in your business, or even if you have a desire to step out, and just ask yourself, oh, what am I really afraid of? And so as you name the emotion and as you become to uncover the belief, and so using that as an example was, oh my God, he's so much, better than me. And I could have just recognized, okay, I am as worthy as anyone else. And so you face that fear that you're experiencing in the body rather than allowing yourself to be immobilized by it. So you face that fear, recognize the belief, and then just choose to reframe it.
What is the difference
I am
between
worthy.
what is the difference between a persecution wound, which sounds so intense, and a limiting belief? Are they the same thing?
That's the thing. They are really intense. So before I was, practicing what I was going to share on that particular platform, I was fine. As soon as I saw the lineup, then I was, honestly, I could not speak. I felt immobilized. So if it was a limiting belief, then you would feel the nerves, but you may be able to push through it. If it's a deep-seated persecution wound, then it's pretty hard to get yourself through it until you recognize where it's come from.
Yeah, so fascinating. For those of you watching, thank you so much. Go ahead and comment in the chat. Let us know where you are geographically watching from. If you know, and if you want to up your brave and share with us what your persecution wound is, if you've done work in this area, then you're welcome to chat. Put that in the chat as well. It's interesting, Jenny, because I don't know if this is my persecution wound, but lately I've been feeling really like I just want to feel protected, because I felt in the past few years at certain points more than others attacked. And I've actually been dealing with frozen shoulder for 8 months, in this particular shoulder, my left, which is interesting. And we can look into like, what does the left side mean and things like that. What do is that what you mean by it presents sometimes in the body, and the body is the barometer?
Yes, exactly. So if we were to look into that, Nat, if you're open to it, and I could share with you what that persecution wound is. I just closed my eyes to check into that. And actually, what I am shown in past times where it's like you were a woman on her own and you had that deep-seated belief to shift a consciousness, but you had children. So you were torn between the family and speaking your truth. And this is where, because this was what was going to get you into trouble. And so this huge burden that you're experiencing on your shoulder is really holding you back in this moment. So let's just shift this and clear this. So what happens then when we uncover that persecution wound, because every time we have trauma, at whatever lifetime, there's emotions that are suppressed around it. Now, I experience the emotion for my client as I'm working. So I'm feeling a lot of heat, which is anger, a lot of frustration, but also a lot of sadness. So we've recognized those emotions, and just by that, we can allow the emotions to move through, and then the belief that changes, which for you is that I am free to embrace my family and move forward. I can speak my truth. Now, I would then say to my client, do you feel a subtle shift in your body now that we've done that healing?
I can't tell just yet, but I am excited too.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so what are you feeling right now that we've uncovered this?
I feel my foot, which is so without going into massive detail, my health has been amazing. However, I have had ruptured discs 3 times, left, right, left, L5, S1. So back injuries, most of them actually holding my children, like lifting one off a stool, putting another one in the
Yes.
car. So it's a lift and a twist. And I've actually lived with sciatica, which is nerve pain down my left side, for 9 years in my left side.
Mhm.
And so if you watch me walk, some people go, "Are you okay?" And like, you're walking with a limp today. I'm like, I always walk with a limp. No one really sees it because I tried to not show it. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't say I'm in pain, but I'd say it's annoying all the time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now on top of that, for the past 8 months, shoulder, the frozen shoulder, which again is not painful during when I'm not moving it, but it glitches out multiple times a day. It'll catch and I'll be like, like that, and then it'll fade away. So, and I've heard before that back injuries are around, the burden of shouldering, supporting so many people feeling unsupported and things like that. So
Mm.
interestingly, as we talk, I actually am feeling my left foot, to answer your question, which is my fizzy foot.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's as we've tapped into that persecution wound. If you're feeling it, then that's the energy beginning to move through it. And so,
Mm.
if we were working privately, then we'd dive much deeper into that. But this is how it works, because that suppressed emotion creates that blockage, which we have brought in from many lifetimes. And for my own experience, it showed up as incurable cancer. And when I healed the persecution wound, not only did it heal the cancer, but I also saw my future in this lifetime with my work, because I'd been an intuitive healer for 10 years, and my work had got to a certain stage, and that was from that fear of speaking out, sharing the esoterical side of my work. And moving forward, and this is what's happening with the medical, conventional treatment, we're going to have to embrace the esoteric, spiritual, emotional component to healing. And then we can bring it together with the conventional if we choose, or without, depending what our belief system is. And healing is going to speed up. But it's also, as we uncover our persecution wounds in our businesses, we're going to attract more abundance in our life and our businesses, and they're going to flow more freely. We're going to attract the perfect support to us, and we're going to start sharing and encouraging with each other rather than being in competition, which a lot of us have unconsciously have had, old persecution wounds, because if you get the client, then that takes it away from me. But this is all part of the shift in consciousness as we're moving into, some people call it the new earth, the new way of being, that we're going to start supporting one another and realize what affects another person also affects ourselves.
And I love that. And, most of my audience is, I would say, possibly most of my audience is quite open-minded, freedom fighter, truther type people, a lot of healers, speakers, and coaches. And then there'll be a certain percentage, maybe smaller, maybe 30%, that are not really on that wavelength, but they're more into learning about, the marketing and growing their business and things like that. So I think this can actually help them, whatever path they're on, understanding themselves better and understanding where some of those limitations come from. The persecution wound is going to be helpful. So thank you for opening our eyes to this today. I would love to ask you, I guess, what can someone do about it? Like, you said, if you and I were to work together, which I would love to do, I would love to get some help in this area, but what can people do about it I don't know if this is the right term, release their persecution wound or acknowledge it? I'm not sure what the terminology is. What can they do?
Well, when we have awareness, we're 90% there to any healing. So it's first of all to become aware of your persecution wound. So that's when we talked about the difference between limiting beliefs and a persecution wound, because it's, feels way deeper, or you may not necessarily be able to shift it so easily. And if you could get yourself some support, that someone can actually take you to the root cause of that persecution wound, is what I do with my clients. It really is life-changing. So it affects all areas of your life, your health, wealth, and your relationships, what I have found. If anybody is interested, I have got a group online past life regression coming up next Tuesday, where you can reach out to either Nat or I. That will be 49 New Zealand dollars, 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So these are just a couple of ways that you can uncover that persecution wound. But what I've learned from healing from incurable cancer is intent is everything. So just recognizing it and putting out that intent, show me how to release this. So you don't need to know how that's going to happen right now, but and trust that the perfect circumstances or people will come into your life to get those wheels of motion and to shift that for you.
That sounds amazing. So if you guys are listening to this now and Tuesday is coming up, you can attend that. I'll put the link below as soon as we wrap this live stream up. I'll pop the link below. But also, if you're listening to it later, Jenny, where can people reach out to you? Because I imagine you've got various ways that you can help them. Can you let us know your website, your Instagram, or your Facebook socials?
Yep. Okay. My website's www.jennykennedy.co.nz. And I can put my other links down in the comments below.
That'd be awesome. All right. So I'm going to try to attend that. I do have some interviews on Tuesday next week, but I'm going to try to attend that myself. Otherwise, I'll chat with you privately. I'm thinking of a few people that also might be keen to come along. So you guys can spread the word. If you feel like you've got friends who have been struggling, body struggles, health struggles is normally the way some of these things present because of the overlap between emotional and body well-being. Then you feel free to send them this replay or send them the link to come along to Jenny's workshop. What else is coming up for you, in the next 6 months or so?
Well, I'm heading overseas. I've got a new grandbaby due in London at the end of August. So we're going over to help with that, doing a little bit of traveling. And of course, because I work remotely, I'll still be doing some work over there. But I'm pretty excited to go and meet my new grandson.
So cool. Do you have grandchildren already?
I've got one little grandson. He's 2 years and 9 months. And it's his daycare holidays in August. So we'll be looking after him and then awaiting the other arrival of the new grandson at the end of August. So exciting cool. Times. I miss him so much, being that far away from us.
It's tricky with the distance. I think also the other thing that I'm excited about is this new generation of kids growing up, hopefully in a more holistic world where they're introduced to holistic, more holistic options with health, wellness, spirituality, from the early stages, rather than like me, I'm turning 50 and it's like, I'm still opening my eyes to this stuff, even though I've been interested in it probably for about 20 plus years. Thank you, Jenny, for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure sharing all about the persecution wound with your people.
Awesome, you guys. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. You can comment below with any questions, even if you're watching the replay. Jenny and I will keep an eye on it and we'll come back and answer you. And keen to hear from you. What did you think of this topic? Do you have any questions? And do you know what your persecution wound is? And now you know what you can do about it. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, Nat. Bye.